Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. Welcome to the Bamboo and Rattan in the Green Economy Summit that Addis Ababa and the government of Ethiopia are hosting this week. It is with great pleasure that I join you and offer a few remarks as you set out to hopefully change what is often a misperception and misconception about the vital role that bamboo and rattan already play in our lives, in our economies today, and also the potential that it holds in addressing so many of the challenges that we often associate with transitioning towards a greener, more sustainable economy in the 21st century. With more than 1,400 species that occur in many parts of the world as native species, and with the exception of Antarctica and Europe, are therefore available to most economies and most people across the planet, the global economy that we could develop around bamboo and rattan is not only significant from an economic perspective, but also from a developmental and a climate change response perspective. The global market for domestically produced and traded bamboo and rattan products is already estimated today to amount to around $34 billion, a significant sum and a significant economy with many jobs and many uses and many services associated with it. Add to that another $2.5 billion in internationally traded bamboo and rattan products, and you begin to sense not only the potential and also the foundations that already exist for this bamboo and rattan in a green economy perspective, but also the enormous potential. Sometimes described as the poor man's timber, but also alternatively regarded as the green gold, I think we have a great deal to do to both alert policymakers, farmers, land users and landowners to the potential that bamboo and rattan hold for future development. Bamboo and rattan represent significant potential in virtually every continent of the world for responding not only to the need for responding to climate change, and here both from a mitigation adaptation perspective, but also as a development investment. Much of our national assessments in terms of forest cover often disregard bamboo. Even the international assessments in terms of climate change assessments, mitigation and therefore also sequestration potential of bamboo is often underestimated. When you take some of the latest figures that we are presented, that for instance bamboo and rattan can absorb up to 4 times and sequester 4 times more carbon than traditional hardwood species, then you begin to sense that from a climate change mitigation perspective, here is an enormous opportunity to act. One that is compatible both with the green economy concept as a whole, but also from a land restoration, adaptation and income perspective presents significant opportunities both from a public policy arena perspective, but also from the perspective of private sector and entrepreneurial business ventures. In our work in the United Nations Environment Programme, we are constantly looking for opportunities to demonstrate that much of what nature provides us is not understood well enough, both in terms of how we measure and value it in our economic indices, our systems of national accounting, and perhaps even in the traditional forestry and land use assessments that are undertaken. Our objective is to try and point to solutions that nature provides us in how to make better use of land, of biota and also of biodiversity, while at the same time being able to respond to the developmental priorities and needs of 7 billion people. Bamboo and rattan are products that we can today find in virtually every corner of the world and in every market. Indeed, the multiple uses of bamboo and rattan are really quite mind-blogging. As I stand here before you and record this message today, I am in fact wearing socks that are made, at least in large part, out of fibers from bamboo. In a recent visit to South Africa, I went to a construction shop with lots of building materials and was surprised to find a whole range of bamboo products that are already part of the local market in terms of housing and building and construction. Many of you are far more familiar with the multiple uses of bamboo, and really my message today is to commit us in the United Nations Environment Programme to work with the International Network on Bamboo and Rattan and also its team and secretariat in Beijing and the many others who are already part of this network globally, to first of all try and better understand what is holding back the further expansion and scaling up of the use, the planting of bamboo and rattan, and secondly, how can we raise public awareness, expand markets and therefore also consumer demand for products that ultimately will provide jobs, will also allow often remote and sometimes marginal communities in areas of countries that economically still struggle to try and take advantage of global and national markets to use bamboo and rattan to accelerate development. At the same time, to show the scalability of our capacity to use bamboo and rattan to combat climate change, sequester carbon, and ultimately also enhance the resilience of our economies. In that context, I very much welcome the establishment of the African Bamboo Center in Addis Ababa, a capital city that already brings much of Africa together every day, but that is also in a country where the issue of forestry, of land restoration, reforestation, has become a national passion. I'm a great admirer of Ethiopia's commitment to the transition towards a green economy across a number of sectors, and in terms of reforestation and expanding tree cover in the country, Ethiopia certainly stands out as a pioneer that has been led with both vision and commitment to not simply put out plans, but to begin to realize them. I hope that the continent of Africa may prove itself once more a pioneer that will help open the eyes of the world to the potential of bamboo and rattan, both as a domestic, a continent-wide economic asset, but also to draw on the lessons of countries such as China, which have made the economy around bamboo and rattan such a successful one. It's a great example for demonstrating how South-South cooperation is once again beginning to provide us with answers that maybe just a few years ago we did not realize we had. I thank all of you for having made the journey to Addis Ababa and hope that out of the summit that you are holding this week, we will receive both recommendations and directions of how we also in the United Nations Environment Programme and the broader UN family can be part of taking advantage of the enormous potential of bamboo and rattan, of building the markets and the economy around it, and to adding to the many opportunities and answers that we may have of how to bring development to communities, to nations, and at the same time reduce our global footprint when it comes to carbon emissions, something that bamboo and rattan has clearly proven to be extremely valuable for. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very successful summit.